Assalamu alaikum. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, so if you could please find your seats and get settled in. We'll be starting the program very soon, inshallah. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May I please have your attention? We're going to be beginning the program now, so if you could please have a seat and get settled, we're going to get started. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings and God's mercy be upon you. Welcome to the 17th annual MAPS Interfaith and Outreach Iftar. We're honored to welcome you into our mosque and house of worship and welcome you into our community. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We have a wonderful program lined up with a quick game, followed by a keynote speaker, Ustada Lubna, coming from LA, and then a delicious iftar to wrap up the night, inshallah. I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You're each seated at a table with a table captain who's a member of our community that is available to facilitate conversations, answer questions, and guide you if you need to find your way around our facility. So please don't be shy in identifying that person and reaching out to them if you need anything. Restrooms are in the hall behind the registration tables around the back entrance. And our dear non-Muslim guests are welcome to snack on the appetizers that are already set on the tables in front of you. But of course, if you would like to fast with us, you are most welcome to. And if you have any dietary restrictions or allergies, the menu will be on the program card, also on your tables in the center. So my name is Maryam Badr. I am humbled to be your MC through the night, inshallah. Inshallah is the Arabic word for God willing. You're probably going to hear me say it a lot through the night. I'm a student at the University of Washington studying business, management, information systems, and marketing. I also work on the media and communications team at CARE Washington, which is a civil rights and advocacy organization serving the communities of Washington State. Both of my parents are originally from Egypt, and I've lived here for a little over 17 years now. I've always grown up with really close ties to MAPS Redmond throughout my childhood. I would always come to attend programs, events, and prayers. And I'm really lucky to have had this community and this mosque as a really active presence throughout my life, alhamdulillah, which means all thanks and gratitude to God. So before we dive into things, we typically commence gatherings aimed at promoting communal welfare by a small recitation of a passage from the Holy Quran, which is our holy book. And today we have Brother Hamza Abdi. He is going to recite a verse from chapter 4 of the Quran, followed by an English translation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعبدوا الله ولا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا وبذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين والجار ذي القربى والجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل وما ملكت أيمانكم إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. So the translation of this verse is, worship God, do not associate other partners with Him, treat your parents with excellence, as well as those related to you by blood, the orphans, the needy, your neighbors who are relatives, and your neighbors who live close to you, the wayfarer and your servants. For God does not love those who are arrogant and proud. The particular verse teaches us three fundamental principles that we Muslims should strive to incorporate in our daily lives. First, this verse emphasizes the importance of worshiping Allah alone, without associating any partners with Him. This is a crucial aspect of our faith and is said throughout the Quran. As Muslims, we believe that there is only one God and we should worship Him with sincerity and devotion. Secondly, this verse reminds us of the significance of treating our parents, relatives, and other vulnerable groups with kindness and respect. We have a responsibility to care for and assist those who are in need, including the orphans and the needy. This is a crucial reminder to us to extend compassion and assist for those who require it. Lastly, this verse cautions us against displaying arrogance and boasting, traits that are disliked by Allah. Instead, we should encourage to demonstrate humility and empathy toward others and strive to contribute positively to this world. In conclusion, these three principles provide us with the ethical and moral framework for leading a fulfilling and meaningful life as Muslims. By incorporating these teachings into our daily lives, we can strive to become better individuals and contribute positively to society. Thank you for listening.
Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Hamza Abdi, for that beautiful representation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. So may I please have a show of hands for how many of you are visiting a mosque for the first time? Wow, it looks like we have about 25 or 30% of the room who are here for the first time. Welcome again. We're so happy that you're here. Again, if you'd like to see a tour of the facility, please make sure that your table mates are aware and they'll be more than happy to take you around. I also encourage you not to be shy in asking any questions. I'm sure you'll hear something today that might stimulate some curiosity or see something. Please don't be shy in asking any questions. So in light of the theme of the event today, which is the power of community and coming together as neighbors, our goal here is to foster a strong sense of unity and understanding within our guests. The function of these annual IOC Iftars is to move beyond the grounds of simply tolerating one another and begin to approach the grounds of valuing and appreciating our neighbors. We hope that you leave tonight's event with a deeper appreciation of the diverse backgrounds that exist within our community, and I invite you each to take a look around the room right now and observe how full it is. That in of itself is an inspiration, and you should all give yourself a round of applause just for showing up for your community today. We would also like to acknowledge the many federal, state, and local officials who are amongst us today, as well as the many community leaders from churches, temples, and other houses of faith and community service organizations. Please hold your applause till the end, but everybody is named on the slides above behind me. The last slide is going to say education leader. Okay, round of applause now. Up next, we have Brother Muhammad Nasr Vakil, the MAPS Redmond president. He will be giving us an annual MAPS address. Brother Muhammad Nasr Vakil served on the MAPS board in multiple capacities, first as Secretary General from 2006 to 2007, Religious Affairs Secretary from 2011 to 2015, and as Vice President from 2015 to 2018. He is currently serving as the President as of November 2022. Brother Muhammad has a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from KFPUM in Saudi Arabia and a master's degree in computer science from Johns Hopkins University. He currently works as a technical program manager for Meta's AI and ML infrastructure team. Please give it up for Brother Muhammad Nasr Vakil.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and I greet you all, greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I also would like to extend very warm welcome to each one of you on behalf of the entire Muslim Association of Puget Sound family to be here with us. This is one of the blessed months for the entire year for us, and your presence means a lot. So we are really grateful and thank you for being here. So as Mariam did a quick show of hands, so it looks like more than 60-70% of you are visiting here very first time. So let me take a few minutes and introduce MAPS a little bit so you have a little bit more context. MAPS has been a citizen of Redmond since 2006. It was the first day of Ramadan when we opened our doors very close to Home Depot, a small facility serving tens of families. And then 5 years later, again on the first day of Ramadan, we moved into this facility. And then ever since we have been growing, and now we are serving over thousands of families, hard to keep a count of. But here we are, and all these families, they come from over 40 different countries and backgrounds. So we are a very diverse, multicultural, multilingual community. We all, and one thing common among us is we all share Islam as a faith. So MAP's main purpose is about serving the religious needs of our community and the spiritual needs. So we have a prayer hall, and you may be able to visit during the prayer time on the other side of this partition. And this entire facility, after an hour or so of this dinner, will become the prayer hall when they drop the partition and they will put down all the carpets. So Ramadan is a month when we attract the most number of people visiting us. And this was kind of growing so fast, we could not serve everybody here and accommodate. We opened another facility in downtown Seattle. We opened it about a year ago, and now that's been growing. And then just 3 weeks ago, we announced another expansion, our third location in MAPS, Snohomish County. So as you can see, we are growing. Yeah. So we celebrate births, we officiate weddings, and we hold our all the funerals. We have a funeral home here. We kind of take all the last rituals of obligations we have. So you can see we have the whole end to end whole 9 yards covered. But this is not only about spiritual, or MAP should not be considered as just a religious center, because we have over a dozen or so committees with the sole aim of enjoining what is good and forbid or eliminating what is wrong. So just to give you a quick example of, we have committee called MAPS Now, Nature, Outdoor and Wildlife. These group of people, they go out and they repair the trails, they take part in beautification of parks and facilities. Just 3 weeks ago, they had a work party in Marymore Park, maintaining a section of the park. So they are passionate about outdoors, they encourage outdoor activities, so that's MAPS Now. Second is MAPS MCRC, Muslim Community Resource Center. Anybody heard of it? Yeah. So they have about portfolio of programs. They have homeless shelter program, food program. They have women's transitional housing for single women. They have refugee assistance program, and they have an office very close to transit center in Redmond. Anyone can walk in and get help, get food card or gas without any question asked. So that's that. They receive public grants, private grants, in addition to all the Muslim contributions of zakat and giving. Then we also have a committee called MAPS Aman, American Muslim Empowerment Network. Anybody heard of it? So they are our advocacy arm. It's led by Sister Anila Afzali. She is an executive director, and they take part in partnership with public officials and community leaders, interfaith leaders, to address the hate and bigotry and injustices in the society. Very recently, she was very active in getting the first city of Seattle, first ordinance passed, is first of its kind in the entire country against caste-based discrimination. So it's not only about just Muslim causes, whether it's border crisis in Mexico or Afghan refugees moving in federal way and having Islamophobia issues, anything and everything, she partners and she works with them. Then we have committee called MAPS Interfaith and Outreach Committee. They are the host of this event. I don't have to tell much about it. Their goal is to build the friendship with interfaith partners, our neighbors, bringing them and giving them a tour of the facility and what have you. So if any of you, I see that there are a lot of educators. If you need any speaker to come and speak in your classes, please just reach out to them and put them to work. Or if you want to bring your students here for any trip, they host it on a Friday afternoon. They will serve them your kids lunch, and they will give you Islamic, like background. They can tour the mosque and what have you. Then we have maps. One community, MCOC, multicultural one community. We have that. We have SPRN, Small Business Resiliency Network. They are the ones who bring businesses and people who want to start their own small businesses, how to go about doing it. So there is this education aspect as well as networking aspect. Then we have mass education programs. Then we have also called Community for Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity. They are the ones who hosted very recently Black History Month last month. So they are also very active. Then we have education programs, and education programs are not only for Islamic or religious education, but they have Lego classes, robotics clubs, poetry contests, so on and so forth. So as you can see that it's a lot more about just building our community, Muslim community, but also more so how we engage and work with the society at large and around us. Now, a bit about the theme, Power of Community. It was about 2 months ago, few of us were kicking off the planning for this event. And then people were asking, what should we name, the theme, what should be the theme of this event? And when the proposal came about this power of community and neighbors and interacting with them, no brainer. There was no question asked and everyone converged. So we take that very seriously because at the mission of MAP, is we feel the founders here, we feel that is incomplete if we were to remain inside and only within these walls. We have to go out, participate with people and solve the problems. And these problems are common for us. Even in our sermons, in our religious sermons, there's aspect. We all learn from the prophetic tradition that, the most beloved of you in the sight of God is the one who serves others, who helps others, right? So you are in a way become a vehicle for God's mercy, for God. You are amplifying the attribute of God when we do that. So that is that. When prophet of God, when he was a beautiful tradition that angel Gabriel was teaching prophet the rights of neighbors. And prophet thought that he is going to include neighbors in our inheritance. Yes, so it is that level of our teachings tell about that. So it should not be just a matter of PR or or scoring points. It should really come across as something genuine that we should take part in it. And that's the reason all of these programs are organized that way. And we learn from communities in the past, like community in Cordoba, the largest mosque there in the Grand Mosque of Cordoba housed a library, biggest library at that time, and there Jews, Christians used to study alongside Muslims. And Jews, like people like Moses, Mormonites, they became Jewish philosophers. And then they were the ones, they collaborated in the medicine. And then they converted Greek text and Greek ancient knowledge, and then came out with other treatments and surgical techniques and so on and so forth. So you can see that, when people really want to come, they have a will, they find a way, and they have an impact. Fast forward 17th, 18th century. It's in southern India, in the state of Tamil Nadu, a city called Puducherry. There it was under the control of French colony. There Hindus, Muslims and Christians, they formed a system called Kandigai. It's a cooperative system. Their trade was textile. So they pooled in their resources, and based on their investment and based on what art or talent they are bringing to the table, based on that they got rewarded. But the benefit, the profit and losses were shared among all. So these are beautiful examples. And if this is not enough, my last example, just to amplify that, we have an opportunity here. If we just look above the sky, the beautiful spring season is approaching, and you will see birds flying and especially migrating in the form of V shape. And they say that my cousin is a aerodynamics engineer, so he explained that the bird at the tip of the V exerts the more pressure, takes the most resistance of the wind, and then it cannot sustain. So it takes the turn, and the bird behind it takes the less resistance and less, and so on and so forth. So they keep taking turns. And if one of the birds gets sick or injured, they never leave that bird behind. They leave always a companion, and then they both catch up with the caravan later. So this is what we learn from the community of birds, right? So there's no reason for us not to come with pure intention to work on and build upon all the common things we share here. We have an opportunity. It's up to us whether we worry about the differences, to petty differences, or we go about and really build upon, solve our problems, so that we really can have an impact. Like, not just, we don't want to be mentioned on the footnote of the history of the region, rather we have a chapter in the history, inshallah. So that's my wish, that's my prayer, because it's a beautiful time. So inshallah, so that we can build upon, we can have mutual respect, and we can cooperate with each other, coexist with peace, and more so help each other grow and help each other in prosperity. Thank you so much again.
Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Muhammad Nasr Vakil. Jazakumullah khairan, by the way, is the Arabic phrase for may God present you and reward you with the best and blessings. I think I said it before, but I just wanted to clarify that. Just to double click on what our president said, MAPS really is a powerhouse for the Muslim community here, with so many events and opportunities that are available to us. And MAPS is always more than happy to partner and engage with our organizations and neighbors in many ways, whether it's sending over a representative, offering tours of our facility, and so much more. So please keep that in mind as you go through the night, and then obviously after you leave. So one of the many key cornerstones of building a thriving and inclusive community lies in the hands of our educators. And we have invited teachers, principals, and superintendents from our community to honor them. So please give them a hand for all the educators sitting amongst us now. As every good teacher knows, no class is exciting enough without a pop quiz. So today we have a Kahoot game for you all to play and test your knowledge about Islamic practices. Don't worry, don't worry. I will not leave you to make shots in the dark. I'm going to go through a quick crash course right now about basic Islamic practices and the significance of Ramadan. So first, I'm going to be going over the 5 foundational pillars of Islam, and there are 5 of them. The first pillar of Islam is called Shahada, which is the proclamation of faith. And this is the belief in your heart, or the verbal statement that you only believe in one God, Allah. Allah is the Arabic word for God. And that you believe that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is our final messenger. The second pillar of Islam is prayer. As Muslims, we are required to pray 5 daily prayers. And today you will be joining us for the fourth one called Maghrib, the sunset prayer. And when we pray, we face towards Mecca, the Kaaba in Mecca. The third pillar of Islam is called zakah, which is the Arabic word for charity or almsgiving. And this is calculated to about 2.5% of your annual savings. And the purpose of zakat is actually to eradicate poverty in the event that it was executed properly and by every individual. So basically, you are supposed to start with the people that are closest with you and extend to those that are more distant in relationship with you until everybody is covered. The fourth pillar of Islam is fasting, which is what we're doing right now, fasting during the month of Ramadan, and I'll go over Ramadan in more detail in just a second. And the fifth pillar of Islam, the fifth and final one, is Hajj, which is the Arabic word for pilgrimage. Once in a lifetime, Muslims go on a trip that is in Mecca, and they perform some of the rituals that were done by Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. And this is only for those who are able to physically and can afford it. So just to recap, the 5 pillars of Islam are Shahada, the proclamation of faith, prayer, zakah, or almsgiving and charity, fasting during the month of Ramadan, and Hajj, or pilgrimage. So right now we are observing Ramadan, which is the 9th month in the Islamic calendar, which is the same as the lunar calendar. And it is the holiest month celebrated by over 1.6 billion Muslims worldwide. I hope you guys are taking notes. During this month, all able adult Muslims fast from sundawn until sunset, abstaining from drinking and eating. The purpose of fasting is to achieve a greater sense or level of God consciousness and devotion, which is also called taqwa in Arabic. And it's a time for spiritual reflection, prayer, and acts of charity. The fast is broken at sunset, which is also called maghrib, with dates and water, followed by a meal called Iftar, which you all will be joining us for tonight. And to prepare for a day of fasting, Muslims also wake up before dawn to eat a meal called suhoor, which provides sustenance throughout the day. And this is roughly around, I think Fajr is around like 5:30 now, so we wake up at like 5 or before that for our ambitious meals. And in addition to fasting, Muslims engage in increased acts of worship during Ramadan, such as reading and reciting the Holy Quran, attending nightly prayers called Taraweeh, giving to charity. And there's actually a specific and mandatory charity given by Muslims at the end of Ramadan, which is intended to provide assistance to those in need and also purify your money and all of your acts throughout the month. Ramadan ends with the celebration of Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of our month-long fast. On this day, we gather with family, friends, exchange gifts, and perform a special Eid prayer. Overall, Ramadan is a time of spiritual rejuvenation, purification of the heart, and opportunity for Muslims to deepen their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which again is the Arabic word for God, and their community. And for those of you who may still not have a full grasp of it, an analogy that I like to use is kind of compare it to a juicing cleanse. So a juicing cleanse is meant for your physical body, obviously, but you can think of Ramadan as a cleanse for your spiritual health. Now that you all have become experts, please take out your phones and navigate to kahoot.it. The information will be up on the slide behind me in just a second, and we'll get started once everybody joins. There's also Wi-Fi information on the slide above, and the game code is 6417151. We also have prizes, so I don't know if that will motivate you or demotivate you. Oh, Muslims are not allowed to play. I forgot to make that. I know you thought you could get away with it, but you can't. I better not see any Ahmeds on here. Maryam E, get out! One more minute. One more minute till we get started. Okay, we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1. So the first question will not affect your score, but how familiar are you with Ramadan? How well do you know Ramadan? Okay, we have the results. So about 39 of you said you have friends who fast and tell you about it. So that's good. The majority of you have heard about it. Okay, if you answered I have fasted Ramadan and you're Muslim, get out of the game right now. Okay, the next question is, during the month of Ramadan, Muslims abstain from all of these activities from sunrise until sunset except option number 1, eating any food, that's the red one, yellow one, intercourse, blue one, drinking any beverage, even water, and green one is singing. The correct answer is singing. I'm so happy that most of you got that one right. Muslims do not have to abstain from singing while they fast from dawn to sunset during Ramadan. So great job. Okay, sorry, we have a scoreboard first. Tennille, I don't know where you are, but you're doing great. Let's see if you can keep that up. Joe Mama, second place. Andrew, I think, third place. Okay, question number 3. When does the month of Ramadan come around? And your options are triangle, red, it moves all the time. Circle, yellow, in the spring. Blue, diamond, FY23Q1, and green, square, in March. Yay! I'm so happy everybody got this one right. The correct answer is it moves all the time. So like I said before, Muslims follow the lunar calendar. So the timing of Ramadan is calculated by the moon sightings during the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. And this ends up resulting in Ramadan moving a little bit earlier each year. So we'll go to the next question now. Question number 4. What is the preferred fruit for Muslims to break their fast with? Option number 1, apples. Yellow, kiwis. Blue, dates, and green, berries. So the correct answer for this one is dates, and literally everybody got this one right. So great job. You actually have some on your table, so if you want to try one, feel free. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to break his fast with a date, so this has become a sunnah or a Muslim tradition that we still hold up until today. Question number 5. How many Muslims are there worldwide who celebrate Ramadan? If you were taking notes, you might know this one. Option number 1, 5 million. Option number 2, 1.6 billion. Option number 3, 330 million. And option number 4, 60 billion. Andrew, good job. You're doing great. Santi in second place and Lucien in third. Okay, so the next question is, who is required to fast during the day in Ramadan? Number 1, millennial Muslims. Number 2, everyone, even non-Muslims. Number 3, able adults. And number 4, all Muslims, even children. The correct answer is all able adults. Exempt individuals from fasting include anyone with health conditions that prevent them from fasting, pregnant women, or young children. Anyone who has reached the age of puberty has reached the age of adulthood in Islam. So that's why children is not the correct answer. Santi, I don't know where you are, but you're taking the lead. Next question. Which of these is not a way Muslims know it's time to break their fast or not to? Option 1, mobile apps. Option 2, town crier. Option 3, music band. And option 4, cannons. This is like a bonus question. The correct answer is music bands. So just for some context on this question, in many Muslim countries, there are a lot of different methods based on the cultural traditions and practices of the country that will alert other people that it's either time to start fasting or break their fast. So for example, in Egypt, there's a town crier or someone who walks around with drums in the neighborhood, and that's their way of alerting people that it's either Maghrib, so break your fast, or it's Fajr, so start fasting. Santi's still taking the lead. Okay, the next question is, at the end of Ramadan, Muslims celebrate Eid. Which Eid marks the end of Ramadan? Option 1, Eid al-Adha. Option 2, Eid al-Fitr. Option 3, Eid Mubarak. And option 4, Eid indeed. The correct answer is Eid al-Fitr. So for the 24 of you that selected Eid Mubarak, that is the greeting that we say to one another during Eid. So that's how you wish people a happy Eid. You say Eid Mubarak when you see people on Eid. And Eid al-Adha is celebrated after the annual pilgrimage. Santi is still in the lead. Okay, question number 9. Which school or board districts in the US mark Eid al-Fitr as a day off or development day to accommodate Muslim students? Option 1, Miami-Dade County. Option 2, Hilliard City, Ohio. Option 3, New York City. And option 4, all of them. Yay! I'm happy to say that the correct answer is all of them. This is one of the ways that schools can help accommodate Muslim students during Ramadan. Santi, first place. Stephen, second place. And question number 10. What do Muslims have to do at the end of the month to make sure their fast is blessed by God? Option 1, give to the needy so they can celebrate Eid. Option 2, pray all night. Option 3, finally have intercourse. And option 4, sacrifice a lamb. most of you got the right answer. So the correct answer is give to the needy so they can celebrate Eid, which is also called Zakat al-Fitr. And this is basically, like I said before, a charity that each individual pays to donate to the needy to compensate for any shortcomings they may have unintentionally experienced during the month. The last question. While fasting, Muslims are encouraged to blank. Choose all that apply. Option 1, be grumpy. Option 2, be on their best behavior. Option 3, be generous. And option 4, worship a lot. Okay, so the wrong answer is be grumpy. I'm glad most of you did not select that. So here we have our winners. Can we get a round of applause for Stephen G? Woo! Can you guys come up and get your gifts? I have your prizes. Hello? Can I get the winners up on stage, please? Can I get the winners? Stephen, Santi, and Kaylin, where are you? Kaylin is going to tell us what he learned today.
I learned the 5 pillars. Yeah.
Wait.
Well, I learned a lot of things here, but I think I especially learned about the importance of Ramadan. So. Thank you. Hi. I learned that they use cannons to tell when to fast.
Bonus point, you got that. Stephen did his homework, guys. Okay, congratulations to our winners on the leaderboard. I hope you guys had fun playing that game. I am now pleased to introduce the next segment of our program. We have a keynote speaker, Ustada Lubna. Ustada Lubna Yusuf Mullah is a motivational speaker and community educator. She is a member of the board of directors of Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research. Additionally, she serves as an IOK Muslim chaplain at UCLA. Lubna is a former National Tarbiyah Director of the Muslim American Society, where she is still an active member. And she is also the co-founder of the Muslim Marriage Rejuvenation Retreat. Ustada Lubna has been working as a youth mentor for the past 2 decades in multiple capacities. She is a graduate of the Chapman University with a Master's of Fine Arts in Screenwriting and is the creator of the YouTube channel Double Shot Mocha Productions, where she strives to promote social awareness through humor. Lubna was born and raised in LA, California. She graduated from California State University, Northridge in business administration with a concentration in accounting. She worked as an accountant for 10 years until she began her career as a mother. Lubna moved to Egypt for 3 years with her husband, Sheikh Suhail Mullah, and her children, and studied Arabic, Quranic recitation, and Islamic studies under Azhari scholars. Lubna Mullah currently resides in LA, California with her husband and 4 children. So please give it up for Ustada Lubna.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings upon all of you. It's my pleasure and honor to be here. It's my first time at this beautiful, beautiful facility and mosque. I'm so honored to be here. When I was listening to the, I believe it was the president of the organization, list all the services, I was super, super impressed and jealous in a good way. I'd like to extend a warm welcome once again to all of you who have joined us tonight in our holiest month of the entire year. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know this is, after a long day and we're holding you from eating, even though you're welcome to eat, but I know many of you will be a little bit shy to eat. So we really appreciate your coming out here. And of course, So those that join us in faith and other faiths and other parts of the community, thank you so much for joining us. So tonight I wanted to talk about the power of community. I wanted to start with a verse in the Holy Quran that talks about how really God has created us differently so that we can get to know one another. And I'm going to quote a verse from the Holy Quran, chapter Hujurat, verse 13. O humanity, we have created you all out of a male and female, and have made you into nations and tribes so that you may get to know one another. And we're so happy to have you here tonight. I know we're going to have a little bit of an activity after dinner or during dinner so that you can get to know one another. And there's so much power and meaning in that. There's so much value in getting to know your neighbors, for you to get to know us as Muslims, for us to get to know you in your different capacities in the community. Because building upon a love for community, it's only going to make the community better. When we understand one another, when we understand our beliefs, and we understand why we do the things that we do, and we understand that we have similar values, it really makes us love one another, and it makes us want to work with one another in a much more comprehensive manner. Another verse, I'm going to, give me 1 second. Having difficulties with my own phone here. Got it. Forgive me. Okay. Another verse from the Quran, this is in Surah Al Imran, chapter 3, verse 64. O people of Scripture, come to a word common between us and you. We have come tonight truly to gather on a common ground, and that's love of community once again. We have lots of things in common, and one in particular is that we all want Seattle. We all want everyone in Washington. We all want people in the entire world to be able to be safe, to have a clean environment, to be productive, and to be welcomed, right? And this is something that's very beautiful that we're experiencing right now. I'm seeing many of you shake hands with one another, smile, greet one another, and that makes us very happy. So, why have we asked you to join us, in particular this interfaith dinner in the month of Ramadan? We wanted you to witness this holy month with us because it is the most sacred time for us. And I want to quote a verse from the Quran, 3 verses in particular that kind of describe the purpose for Muslims why we fast. I'm going to start. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who have believed, decreed upon you is fasting as it was decreed upon those before you, that you may become righteous, as our MC has mentioned. So what's beautiful is that fasting as part of a spiritual tradition is nothing new, and that God is telling us that this has been prescribed on people before you, because we believe that our God is the God of the nations before us, the God of Abraham, the God of Moses, the God of Jesus. So what is the point of it? Therefore, that you may become more righteous. How many of you, I know that some of you that belong to other faiths, that perhaps you have fasted today in solidarity with us. I know some of you maybe even for health reasons may fast. And some of you, even if you're just fasting for these couple of hours, the food is in front of you and yet you're abstaining, that's fasting too. So round of applause to all of you. But let's reflect for a moment. How do you feel when you're hungry? Aside from grumpy and aside from angry. But what happens to our thoughts and what happens to perhaps our level of gratitude when we're hungry and we're able to take that first morsel after it's been a while, and especially when we haven't been able to eat, whether voluntarily because we're fasting or perhaps because we haven't had time? Some thoughts, if we can just raise your hand and feel free to share. Gratitude, absolutely. Who said that? Yay, thank you. I'm grateful that you said that. Gratitude, absolutely. We become more grateful. We become more aware of the blessings that we have, right? How many of us, when we go in our day-to-day business, we have meetings, we're at work, we're at school, we have families, and your day is so busy, you're not necessarily aware of what you're doing sometimes. You're aware of what you're doing at work or at home, but sometimes about the blessings that we do have, right? And as at the very end of this verse reminds us that fasting has been prescribed, a prescription perhaps for sometimes we're not as mindful as we want to be. right? Mindful is one of like the spiritual and kind of mental health practices of our time now, right? There's even apps on your phone or on your watch that reminds you to take a moment and be mindful, right? And so when you fast, sometimes now you become hyper aware of, wow, I haven't had water, licking my lips. We haven't had food for a while. And now when you're able to have that morsel of food or that sip of water, you're so much more aware, like, wow, what a blessing I have right in front of me. And many times I'm not even grateful for it. So definitely righteousness, gratitude, anything else that we feel when we're fasting. I'm sorry? Worship. It makes us perhaps more aware of our Creator. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. In the next verse, and I took just the end of it, وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And God also tells us in the chapter number 2, verse 184, but to fast is best for you if only you knew. And as was mentioned before, that there is a spiritual element to fasting. And we talked about righteousness, we talked about gratitude, mindfulness, also empathy for those who have less than us, right? And that should never be a status where we are proud to have more than somebody, but that should make us feel more empathetic for those who struggle in ways, including with hunger and perhaps with homelessness as well. But that also perhaps there's a physical benefit as well. How many of you have tried intermittent fasting for health benefits? I have. I'm going to raise my hand because I have too, right? It's so amazing that in when God has commanded things, it's not just for the purpose of do it so you can do it. Do it so that you'll just obey me. That there's a spiritual benefit, again, like the gratitude, but then there's also a physical benefit. One of them, and I'm not, my undergrad was business, and I also did screenwriting, but I'm also kind of a science nerd, especially when it comes to nutrition. But one of the things I think is so amazing, during extended periods of fasting, including intermittent fasting and the fasting that Muslims do in Ramadan, there's a process called autophagy that happens, where basically the healthy cells will kill off, kind of violent, but it's a biological process. It will actually destroy the cells that have disease in them, usually the ones that are cancer causing, so that they don't multiply and grow out of control. Those are actually killed off, and they're taken away out of your system. So it's really amazing. Some of the other benefits of autophagy: it removes toxic proteins from the cells that attribute to neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. It recycles residual proteins, provides energy and building blocks for cells that could still benefit from repair, and on a larger scale, it prompts regeneration and healthy cells. So totally amazing that there's always something behind what we initially see, because I remember, I'm sure some of you who have grown up fasting or have adopted fasting recently as part of an Islamic practice, I'm sure you've grown up hearing, aren't you hungry? Can't you, what if you just had a little bit of water? Like nobody will know. Yeah, nobody will know, but God will know, right? So understanding that there's a higher purpose for this fast is really what makes it a lot easier, really, for people to fast all day. And then, as we mentioned in the verses, that it increases gratitude. And again, I'm going to read for the next consecutive verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2. The month of Ramadan is that which was revealed in the Quran. So this is why it is so holy for us. The Quran is believed by Muslims that it was word for word revealed to the last and final prophet Muhammad, as we mentioned, that he is along the last of the long line of prophets, including with Adam and Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and many others. That it is the direct word of God. So the month of Ramadan is in which was revealed the Quran, a guidance for the people and clear proofs of guidance and criterion. So whoever sights the new moon of the month, let him or her fast it. And whoever is ill or on a journey, then an equal number of other days. Meaning if somebody's ill or they are traveling, then they can make it up after Ramadan. Allah intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship, and wants for you to complete this month and to glorify Allah for that which He has guided you, and perhaps that you would be grateful. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, that perhaps you may be grateful. So these are some of the reasons. I'm sure that as you were doing the Kahoot, wondering, okay, these were some of the do's and don'ts of fasting, but why is it that Muslims fast? First and foremost, it is an act of worship to God. And secondly, God has told us that He has prescribed it for us so that we may appreciate His blessings. So as we talked about earlier, we're celebrating tonight's community. We're celebrating you. There are people here who are in education, people here in business, people here that are in politics and in government, and we welcome all of you. We'll welcome all of you that are also belong to this community as well. We want to let you know that you all belong to this community, whether you are Muslim or of other faith. So tonight we want to really remind all of us that we want to foster goodwill and mutual benefit in our community always. This is not a one-off. We don't want you to have iftar or dinner tonight and then we don't see you until next year, right? Or maybe even a few years from now. We want to nurture this relationship. Why? Because we're coming on a common ground. We want to benefit Seattle. We want to benefit the people of this community, the people that need shelter, that need housing, that need support, that need educational services. As was mentioned earlier, one of the sayings of our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he said, the most beloved people to God are those who are most beneficial to the people. We want to be beneficial to the people with you in all the ways that we have mentioned and in much, much more. And one of the ways that is really important to us is uplifting justice. Justice for the entire community, not just for Muslims, not just for a particular segment of the community, but justice for everyone. And this in line is in practice with what Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that he practiced before he received revelation. It was reported that he said, I witnessed a pact of justice. It was called in Arabic, Hilf al-Fudul, a pact basically of nobility, of justice, in the house of Abdullah. And that was more beloved to me than a herd of expensive red camels. Expensive red camels you can think of now as maybe a whole collection of red Porsches. Or that was very prized during his time. If I were called to it now in the time of Islam, I would respond. And basically this pact was a promise and a pledge that they would support any oppressed or wronged individual in the community, regardless of their practice, regardless of their faith. So this sense of justice is extremely important in Islam, and it is also important to us as members of this community. The sanctity of a soul is also highly regarded in Islam. In the 5th chapter in the Quran, whoever kills a soul, it is as if he has slain mankind entirely. And whoever saves one, it is as if he has saved mankind entirely. And when we're talking about saving a soul, this can be in many ways. That we heard earlier, the amazing services that MAPS provides, including providing food, providing shelter, even taking care of our nature trails, so on and so forth. But when we talk about saving a soul, that may be mentally, physically, spiritually. So everybody matters. Helping everyone in our community matters. It is not a matter of politics. It is not a matter of trying to gain, a great standing amongst our community, but it's a matter of an obligation, a sincere and beloved obligation to help our neighbors in our community. And it's so interesting as we started off tonight with a verse that was read so beautifully by our reciter, our Qari. The verse that mentioned, worship Allah alone and associate none with Him. So it's a commandment to believe in God. But then what comes right after that belief, which is the highest tenet for us in our religion? What comes next? Be kind to parents, to relatives, to orphans, the poor, near neighbors and distant neighbors, close friends, travelers, and so on. So all members of our community are important, and in particular, our neighbors. You, all of you here tonight are our neighbors. And as part of our belief, it is our duty. We want to be kind. We want to know what your needs are. We hope that you will come and learn about what our needs are and how we can help one another and make our community strong and vibrant. There was another saying of our Prophet where he says, he is not a believer who spends the night satiated while the neighbor to his side is hungry. So sharing food, breaking bread with one another. I'm so glad that you were able to join us here tonight to break bread with us. We wouldn't want to be filling our bellies while we're fasting all day and other members of our community are hungry. So once again, a round of applause to all of you who have joined us tonight. We really thank you. protection of neighbors is also something that's really important. There's also another saying, whoever believes in God in the last day, let him honor his guests, let him protect his neighbor, and let him speak goodness or remain silent. So we're protecting one another. I see that we have law enforcement, so thank you very much for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. Community safety programs is something that's very important to us, and we would definitely like to know how we can be part of that, and that's definitely something that we want to ensure that everyone in our community feels safe in all ways. And finally, another thought that our prophet has shared with us, that anybody who believes in God in the last day should serve his neighbor generously. It was known that prophet, especially when he migrated to Medina, that he was living amongst polytheists, Muslims, and Jews. And one day, one of his neighbors was ill. He noticed that his neighbor's son, who was Jewish, was ill, and he did not see him playing outside. He went and he visited him. This is part of our tradition that we should be checking up on one another, that we should be celebrating with one another in our good times, and consoling and protecting one another in our sad times and our difficult times. And definitely, we should not be harming one another. We want to be of benefit to this community, and we want to know ways in which we want to benefit. We don't want to harm our neighbors in any way, whether that be with traffic or with unsightly areas, unsightly trash or what have you. Part of our mission here as Muslims and as part of this community, that we want to be a benefit and a beautification to our surroundings. Soon, we still have a little while. But just a reflection once again, as Muslims fast this month, as a way to become closer to God, as a way to recognize our blessings. We want to reflect a little bit about how the food, that some of it is already at the table and some of it more will be coming, God willing, that who is it that brought us this food? There's a beautiful verse in the, two verses in the Quran, chapter 6, verse 95. Indeed, God is the one who causes seeds and fruit stones to sprout. He brings forth the living from the dead and the dead from the living. And in the next verse, he causes the dawn to break and has made the night rest and made the sun and the moon to travel with precision within their orbit. That is the design of the Almighty, the All-Knowing. It's so amazing how God now is asking us in this verse, and as we think about our food, where it comes from, he's reminding us that God is the one that has provided this food, that the one who split the seed. How does a seed, when you plant it, you keep it in your cupboard and it's dry, it will not grow. And yet you plant it in the soil and you cover it in darkness and you add some moisture to it, it will sprout. And those seeds, some of them will sprout into flowers, some of those will sprout into trees, some will sprout into berries, some will sprout into date palms, of different types of sproutings. And yet it is he, as mentioned in this verse, that brings forth the living from the dead. The seed is dead, it's dormant. And yet God is the one that splits that seed open and brings life to it, causing the dawn to break, causing the night for us to have rest. And in these cycles of the sun and the moon are also ways that bring light and darkness, again, for that vegetation and for that food to come to us. So just a moment of reflection. I appreciate you, honoring us in reflecting upon how our food tonight will be coming to us. I wanted to take a moment and see if any of you had any questions about Ramadan, about our community, any questions that you may have whatsoever. Yes. You have a lovely projection, but I know that you're in the front and we still have our...
Be here all week, yeah. So I just wanted to just thank you and thank MAPS for opening your doors to the community like this. This is just beautiful to see so many people here. And every time I come to MAPS, I feel so welcomed. It's such a gracious community, and I just want to thank you for living your faith by example.
Thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate it.
Okay, for Q&A, we have a mic going around the room. So if you'd like to ask a question, can you raise your hand and the mic will come to you. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone? I'll walk around.
You have to be all the way in the back.
Hind is wearing good shoes. I approve, Hind. She's wearing them walking shoes.
He has a strong voice.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Happy to be here. Thanks everyone. My question is for you or anyone, I guess. What is one of the things you take away after doing Ramadan your whole life, whenever, like one of the most important things that you take away from Ramadan that you would want to express for the community?
Thank you for asking. Well, I don't want to be the only one to answer, but I hope this can spark communication, a conversation amongst the tables. But something that I've taken away at the end, fasting, and also by the end of the month, it really humbles me to know how weak human beings are and how dependent we are upon our Creator. The one that, a lot of times we're like, well, I'm the one who got this position. I'm the one who studied. I'm the one who invested this money. I worked hard. I did this. And yet we're so weak. As human beings, we rely on food. And if there's no rain, if there's no sun, we wouldn't have that food, right? And some of us, in LA, we're like crying because it's raining too much. I'm like suffering from seasonal depression because the sun is not out enough. I'm like, and in other places, it's so hot and it's so dry that there's drought, right? So we are, for me, it's just a reminder. It humbles me and reminds me how reliant that I am on God, and it really gives me an appreciation for everything that He has facilitated. We talk about all of those accomplishments that we have. Well, for me, it makes me feel like it's God that's facilitated those things, even to be alive and to be breathing and to be kind of in one piece, right? So that's just my reflection. I appreciate you asking. Would anybody else like to share? We have the mic going around, so we have Greta. You feel grateful by the end of the month. Absolutely. We have some. Hi.
What are the best structures we can put in place in schools to support students during Ramadan?
Great. That question really warms my heart. You don't understand. I think I was one of the only students growing up in LA that was fasting. So absolutely excellent question. What are some of the structures that we can do to facilitate fasting for Ramadan? One, and this is in general, is a place to pray. Just creating a safe place, an easy place for students to pray, where it's not necessarily in front of everyone and it's not so hard to access. That's number one. Number two, I know this is maybe for younger students, but some students during lunchtime, they implement a mandatory kind of like 10 minutes, you have to eat, because we don't want kids like throwing away their lunches, I know. and then they can go play. So maybe kind of giving a pass to those students that are fasting, so they don't just are awkwardly sitting there while their classmates are eating. Another thing is, if possible, really delaying any major like state testing or kind of major exams during that time. During the day, concentration can be a little bit difficult, especially after a prolonged number of hours without eating. Those are the top things that come to my mind. Did anybody else in education that wants to add to that? I hope you can hear. Okay. Can you repeat the last one? Say that again.
So in my school, what they are doing is letting the kids who are fasting to come in a little later, because when you wake up in the middle of the night to start your fast, sometimes it is very hard for the kids to go back to sleep and then come back to school in the morning. So they are facilitating that. In my school, the kids have put up presentation and books and a little board that tells you what Ramadan is, what we do during Ramadan, to just create that awareness. So if you encourage your students at your school to do that, they will come up and they will let you know the things that they would need to be successful during this month of Ramadan.
Very good. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. And thank you for asking that question. It really means a lot to us. Yes. And we have a question. We have a request for the mic.
One more small suggestion for the teachers. If you are serving meals, a nice gesture is to give the kids something to go home with. The ones that are fasting, so that they don't feel like they missed out on a treat or something. So if you're giving, so this is not to say don't give any treats to all the other kids during the whole month. Something easier to do is simply to have something to give them to go home with and eat at night.
So are you saying to-go boxes? This is what I'm hearing. Yes. No, seriously, that's a great idea. It's like, okay, that's beautiful. Yeah. It brings to mind while we're waiting for the next mic. Hind, we have UCF. Okay. I remember my 6th grade graduating class party. So the lunar calendar changes 11 days. It moves up every month. So I remember fasting in the summer, and I had a plate of pizza, licorice, and ice cream, and it was a little bit silly because by the end of the day, it kind of blended all together. You know, when you're a kid, you really want that ice cream.
For those of you who know me, I really don't need this mic. I teach PE at a small private Muslim school, and for the educators, something important to remember during Ramadan is if children are fasting, PE is pretty much, for some of them, it's going to be out of the question. I give all my children the option. They can read a book during PE. No homework is allowed, but they can read a book. I also change up things we do, and we get activities that aren't that difficult. Badminton, throwing a frisbee, just bouncing a basketball, beanbag toss, things that aren't real difficult, and it's amazing how much fun the kids have doing these activities that don't require a lot of effort. And every year during Ramadan, some of them even start looking for that. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. Lovely. That's awesome. Hind, you had somebody in the back, or you're going to...
Oh, I promised Mary. Thank you. Hi, I'm curious about the Hajj, and I'd like to hear more about the spiritual effects of going on that journey and participating with so many people in such an enormous crowd.
Wow, thank you for asking that question. I did have the privilege of going to Hajj. My dad took me, and my family took me when I was younger, and I was able to go a couple of more times. And one of the most profound aspects of Hajj is literally seeing people from all walks of life, all in one place, all wearing similar clothing. So men have to wear 2 pieces of white cloth that are not stitched. It's literally like 2 towels, one on the top, one on the bottom. And you don't know anybody's status. You don't know how wealthy they are. They could be the president of an organization. They can be, you know, just somebody who barely scraped by to be able to make it. That oneness of mission and the togetherness, you know, you're kind of pretty close to a lot of people. You're really physically close. And it really just reminds you of our humanity. There is an immense sense of love, and there's an immense sense of humility, that I'm one person in this massive universe, and so many people. I remember once, and you know, Muslims can come from any, can speak any language, come from any ethnic background, and so you know, you may not necessarily be able to communicate in the same language, but I do remember that there was this lady. We were waiting for one of the prayers, so it was pretty vacant at the time, and there was a woman who was reciting Quran so beautifully. She was from Malaysia, and I was following along with her as she was reading Quran. My reading of Arabic was really weak, and just kind of with some sign language and kind of a little bit of Arabic, and I got that she was from Malaysia, and she got that I was from America, and that moment really stuck with me. It was so profound that it just kind of unity in a higher belief is so moving and it's so powerful. It kind of gets rid of all this other nonsense that we fight over, things that we pride ourselves over in terms of material wealth. It's really powerful. Thank you for asking. I hope that helps. Thank you. And I hope you have your tracker on you because you're getting them steps in today.
30,000.
While fasting. Okay, you go, girl.
I have a comment for the topic before. What teachers can do for the students. I wish they could do it for us adults as well, is a nap time. We are very sleep deprived and tired, and to be forced to take lunch but not be able to sleep is just very difficult for our children. So somehow offer them to put their head down during lunchtime. Thank you.
Oh, that's a beautiful suggestion. Yeah, a power nap. Who doesn't need a power nap, even without fasting? Absolutely. Any other questions, comments?
On my way.
Oh, awesome. I'm not going to bother you, Hint. I'm just, filler talk.
Hi, I was just wondering, how do you resist like the temptation of something that's so easily accessible, like food and water and stuff?
That's a fantastic question. And as a perpetual dieter, I can tell you. And I'm serious. So how do I resist the how do we resist the temptation? Again, it goes for that higher purpose. If it's just me, and I see food at the table, and I was like, oh, I'll just have a little bit. I'm going to get my 30,000 steps in. No big deal, right? But then when I know the reason why I'm fasting, it's a game changer. I traveled today from LA, so today was my travel day, and I do have permission because I'm traveling. It can be a little bit, travel is quite easy, but it can still be difficult in terms of having less sleep and carrying your luggage and being in the air pressured cabin, right? That can be. So I have the option of breaking my fast, but I said no. I want to be able to continue fasting. It's a blessing. And normally I'd be so sad, like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get my ritual coffee at the airport. Where? When they ask for coffee again, I'm not gonna be able to have it. It's a completely different feeling. For somebody who loves all those things, I love eating. When I'm doing it for the purpose that God has asked me to do it, and He says it in the Quran that it's a prescription. It's something that is prescribed. Doctors, when they prescribe something, whether it's physical therapy, whether it's medication, whether it's certain vitamins you need to take, it's something for your benefit. So my belief is that this is something that's beneficial for me, and first and foremost, that God is asking me to do it. That's it. I'm done. I might feel a little bit tired. I might be a little bit hungry, but it's unbreakable, and it's just that. Just the mission is what makes the difference. I hope that helps. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Perfect. Assalamu alaikum. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And hello, everyone. Thank you again for coming to MAPS. My name is Usman Salahuddin, and I'm actually a board member here. I'm the facilities director, and I want to share a story sort of from high school and a comment to all of the educators here. When there's Islamic or learning about Islam in your curriculum, one really good opportunity is to reach out to your local mosque, reaching out to MAPS. There's a few other mosques in the area, Islamic Center of Bathos, Samamish, etc., and really trying to get a tour, trying to learn what the community is doing in the area, because what's in the books and what's shared in the curriculum isn't always accurate. And I think that was one of the biggest learning lessons from when I was in high school. My professor, he brought us all to MAPS. And that was actually one of the proudest I've ever felt to being a Muslim, is when other students around me got to share this same experience. So I would really encourage all the educators to do that.
Oh, thank you. That's insightful.
Osman, can you stand up again, please? He's also running for Redmond City Council.
Wonderful. Tawfiq, inshallah.
Somebody else is going to say the same thing.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, we need you to cross the room.
I'm coming. I'm trying to do it with grace.
Yeah, you're doing it, Grace. No, you're doing it. And I just want to take this moment to thank all of our volunteers that are standing and that have set up from last night, tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My question actually really complements the previous statement. In terms of education, what is a misconception about Islam that the world should know that would change our perceptions?
Oh, fantastic. What is a misconception? And I'm sure you guys will come up with others. These are the first ones that come to my mind. I think compulsion. You know, in the news, how we saw recently in Iran, unfortunately, women being forced to wear the head covering, for example, the hijab, and some protesters losing their life over that. One of the verses, I was going to read it, one of the verses in the Quran is there is no compulsion in this religion. You cannot force anybody to do anything. You can't force somebody to become a Muslim. You can't force somebody to believe, to pray, to dress a certain way, to behavior, to abstain the things that they're supposed to abstain from. So there's no compulsion. I think that would be number one. Number two, again, is that it is not an oppressive religion against women. Kind of piggybacking off of the comment about the head covering, that is an ordainment from God for women to cover in public, not at home, in public. And it's a big misconception that, people have even come up to my friends in the grocery store. They'll see them with their husbands and they'll wait until they're separated. And someone said, okay, your husband's not around. You can take it off in this country. So assuming a lot of things, right? That she wasn't native to this country, that she was forced, and that even worse, that her husband forced her to do it, right? So that's another misconception, that women are seen as lesser. And there's so many verses in the Quran that talk about the spiritual equality of men and women. Men and women were created different physically. They have different biological functions. I mean, let's just be real, okay? I'm just saying. But spiritually equal in the eyes of God. So those are the few. Oh, and one other one, when you were talking about, our board member was talking about the spread of Islam and how, well, I interpret it as spread of Islam, but basically through business and through trade, that there isn't this concept either in the past or now of holy war. Now let's kill people so that they can believe in our religion. I don't think 1.7 billion people in this world have come into Islam due to a war or to killing, right? I mean, I'm saying it sounds silly, but sometimes we internalize those violent images we see on the screen, those explanation of people who have a misunderstanding, whether it's intentional or unintentional, spreading that misunderstanding. So those are the few that come to my mind. And if you have any, I would not judge you if you had a question and you asked. Did that kind of answer? Yes. Thank you.
I think hijabs are very beautiful on women. I'm wondering, first of all, what is the reason or significance behind it? And secondly, are men required to wear something on their head for similar reason?
Yeah, good question. So the reason, there are some ordinances in the Quran that there's an explanation, and some that not necessarily. The hijab, you can say there kind of is an explanation. So first and foremost, why do Muslim women cover their hair and also, have long sleeve and cover their body? It is because God has asked women to do so. And it is our belief that anything that is commanded in the Quran, like fasting, like prayer, like Hajj, like women covering, that there is a benefit for the individual. That it is not merely to oppress or to burden. In one of the verses, when there is a commandment to put on the hijab for women, it's in the chapter of light. The whole chapter is called the chapter of light. The very verse before that is one in which God commands all men for all time to lower their gaze, meaning don't look lustfully at others, and to protect your chastity, meaning to not engage in intimate relations before marriage or outside of the sacred bonds of marriage. And the very next verse then commands the believing women of all time for the same thing, for them to not look lustfully at others. That's the meaning of lower their gaze, not that they have to walk submissively and like not look around, and also to protect their chastity. And then the additional commandment to cover the hair. In that verse, there's not necessarily an explanation, but in another one where the believing women are commanded to put on their outer garment, meaning what you normally may wear at home, that could be transparent, that could be short, what have you, wear something different. Why? And the word is used so that you would be known and so that you would not be bothered. That's why I kind of jokingly said, God did create man and woman different. They are created different biologically, right? And what I get from that so that you can be known, oh, that's a Muslim woman, perhaps I'm supposed to engage with her in a different way. I'm not supposed to holler at her, even though somebody may still do that, right? I'm not supposed to interact with her in a way that's not befitting. So for those two, a protection, not as a protection so that the poor men won't sin. Oh, those poor guys. Not like that. And unfortunately, that's some of the understanding, and some of our teachers have even taught it that way. And again, I should say lay teachers, not scholarly teachers. But sometimes that can be the understanding. So I hope that helps. As a commandment, and as God has mentioned, as a protection. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? Yes. Okay. Okay, mic is coming, and we're going to be able to hear even better.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, start over.
Much better. So I want to talk about allies at work. As a Muslim woman, there are times when women don't fast during the month because they're on their period or because they have, they're pregnant. And I have a friend
those are exceptions. Take it a moment. So when women are menstruating, they don't fast because that would be a burden on them to be abstain from water and drink. So while they're pregnant or while they're menstruating.
So even during my pregnancy, I didn't fast the whole month, but I was, out of respect for the month, I didn't want to eat in public or go to the cafeteria. But I had my own office space. I had my coworker here who would come every day, get me lunch, to come sit in my office, and we'll have lunch together. And there are times when the team went out for lunch, and they'll bring to-go boxes for myself and my family, dinner to take home. So allyship is really important at work.
What a supportive friend and coworker. Wow, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way that you can support your Muslim coworkers at work. I love that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm hiding behind the star.
Hi. Oh, the star.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah. I have two questions regarding faith practice. So I noticed that the Quran was recited or chanted or sung, I don't know which word to use, beautifully. Is that how it is always read, or is it sometimes just read word for word? The other one was regarding prayers. Are those memorized, prescribed prayers, or are they free form?
Excellent question. Okay, first question. You heard, for the most part, Quran recited beautifully, except for when I did it. Some of them I just read too, but that's a really good thing that you noticed, an observation. So it is preferred that when we read Quran that we beautify our voice. And like you said, it's recited, it's chanted, it's sung. It is a beautiful way, right, of recitation. And that's something that people study on pronunciation and how to recite. But that being said, if somebody wants to pick up the book, all of you, any of you, that you want to go online and you want to, I'm curious, what does Quran say about X, Y, and Z? More than welcome that somebody could read the translation, that somebody could read it in Arabic, or even a transliteration. Maybe somebody doesn't know how to read Arabic and they want to just be able to say it in Arabic. There are transliterations, in English so that you can say it, and it is not a requirement to recite it beautifully. And then the second question, the prayers. So there are 5 prayers in the day that we mentioned. 3 of them are said out loud, whether we're in congregation or we are in private. That's the morning prayer, the Maghrib prayer that we're going to do together, you're going to witness, and the night prayer. Those are prescribed prayers. So basically, you read the first chapter of the Quran, which is the Fatiha. It's the opening chapter. That's in every first unit of prayer. And then the second part, while you're standing still, is any other part of the Quran, any chapter. It can be a short chapter, a longer chapter. And then the different movements, there are prescribed things to say, which is glorifying God in each of the movements. But after those movements, you are allowed to ask for something that you would like. You're allowed to supplicate at that time. Oh, God, give me good health, or help me, or guide me, or show me the way, or heal so-and-so, or what have you. So it is prescribed, but then there's little opportunities for your own. And definitely outside of prayer, it's free-flowing. Like you can ask for whatever, say whatever, praise, however, in whatever way that you please. Thank you. Thank you for asking. It's so helpful when you guys ask and comment, because a lot of times we're thinking these things and we don't have the opportunity. We have somebody behind the pillar. Okay.
We're going to take this last question.
Awesome.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment, because I heard at the start that there are other school districts over here also, or people from the other school districts are present. So one thing that Lake Washington has done, what I have played a role in, is when my nephew, I'm talking about almost like 17 years ago, we had Eid al-Fitr, and he had a high school exam which he cannot get out of. So I have sent a letter to the superintendent. If you guys can do it at your district and ask the kids to be excused that day so that they can come and celebrate the day with their family, that will be a great thing. So now at Lake Washington School District, it is on their calendar stating that this is the day of Eid. So if there is an exam, that those kids who are going to celebrate Eid will not be in class, and they will be excused and can give those exams later. They have done it for major exams also. So that is something that they can do in their district.
That's beautiful. Wonderful. Wow. Are we? Okay. In the interest of time, I'm so sorry. We had another individual raise. I'm so sorry that there's a few more questions. But in the interest of time and getting you to dinner on time, I know it's that is we would like to have dinner on time. That is something that is a good thing. So I apologize, and hopefully you can ask a question at your table, come up to me. But I really thank you for listening so graciously. I really thank you on behalf of our community for attending, for breaking bread with us, and really, really helping to celebrate community with us. Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khairan.
Thank you so much, Ustada Lubna. And thank you to every single person that participated in the Q&A session. You guys made a very fruitful conversation. So thank you for each and every one of your contributions. Just to add on, because the topic of accommodations was a really hot topic and a lot of suggestions were being thrown around, I just want to share a concrete resource that I can refer you guys to. So CARE Washington just published a guide on Instagram. If you search up CAIR Washington on Instagram, they have a guide of a lot of accommodations Muslim students and Muslim employees can request from their employers or their educators. And we also have sample letters that you can send to your superintendent, like the nice young lady said over here, or to your employer or whoever it may be on our website. So please feel free to refer to those. That's either CAIR Washington on Instagram or CAIRWA.org. So you can find the list of that resource, or you can see the sample letters. And now I am excited to announce that Maghrib is in about 10 minutes. We only have 10 minutes left. And just to explain to all the non-Muslims what's about to happen, you are going to hear the call to prayer on the loudspeakers. It's called the adhan. And so that's basically what's said 5 times a day to signal that it's time to pray. And then Muslims will break their fast in front of you. There should be dates on every table. Please feel free to join in, of course. Then everybody is going to head over to the prayer hall. The women's entrance is from the back. You may have to go around. I'm not sure if it's closed. And the men's entrance is from here. There are chairs in the back of the prayer hall if you would like to observe. Men through this door, women through this door. And you are more than welcome to come and observe the prayer. And for the young lady that asked about prescribed prayers, this is one of the prescribed prayers. So this isn't one of the free-form prayers if you'd like to see that. And there is an explanation of each move and what is said in the move on your tables as well. So you can refer to those. And I just got news that it'll be streamed on the TV here. So if you don't want to go there, you can just watch it here. And then after that, we'll have dinner. We'll have dinner. We are catering from our in-house restaurant, Johara Cafe, which is actually located right there. Closed right now for Ramadan, but usually open. The menu is also in the program. So if you have any dietary restriction or allergies, please refer to the menu. And in the meantime, while we wait, we do have some icebreakers for you on the table. But obviously, feel free to go off of these or just come up with your own conversations. Thank you, and I will be back to close off after dinner, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. May I have your attention, please? We have just a couple minutes before you hear the call to prayer, but our Imam, MAPS Imam Sheikh Juban is going to make a quick prayer before the adhan. Come make it. So please lower your voices and be respectful.
Testing. Assalamu alaikum. Please be quiet, please. We're going to make prayer, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم لك صمنا ولك أفطرنا وبك آمنا ولك توكلنا ذهب الظماء وابتلت الغروب وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله تعالى من الآمنين. May Allah accept our fasting, our praying. May Allah accept our zakat, our sadaqah, our charity. We accept all of our good deed, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا واعتدلوا. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذ بالنواصي والأقدام. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. ذواتا أفنان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيهما عينان تجريان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
Here for the regular Iftar. The